Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I am your host, Adam Portrais, and I'm joined as always by Sean Keenan.
Heidi thinks Wonder Woman looks clean. Too clean.
And of course, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, and I am above average.
Hey, honestly, we've been saying that all along, Bruce. We all know that you're in the amazing category, my friend, and we'll,
I'm so sick and tired of being mistaken for Chris. What's his name? Chris Klein. I almost called him Chris Klein, which is a totally different Chris I used to be mistaken for.
Chris Klein's like, my ship's
I bet you're probably mistaken a lot more for Chris Klein now than you were back then.
Oh, take that back.
Boy, Chris Klein's a fun cat. What was the audition he went on that went viral a couple years ago? I think it was
maybe Stand By Me or
no, it was for like Mamma Mia or something. And boy, oh boy, was it just it was a romp and a half, boy. I'm like, look, I'm not the best singer in the world, but it was just like, and he was so hyped to be in it too. And then when he goes into the musical number, it's just like, oh, player, you can't sing. Somebody didn't tell you. You know.
Hey, but didn't I see him singing a cappella in one of those Pie movies?
I don't. It's dubbed. I don't know. That's all I got, but it's not good. Welcome to your Chris Klein moment here on H&P. You've been wondering where it's at, and boy, oh boy, do we have it for you. First of all, I want to say thank you guys so much for making May, our Patreon supporter month, a wild and crazy a success. We
watched Tank Girl.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And that's all because of you guys. That's all on your heads. But we had five new pledges and stuff in the was it 5 or 6 in the new month of May and everything. So thank you to Tim, Ken, Brian, Alex, Jeff for coming in, and of course Mr. Carlton Gordon coming in big time here, and he came in big time even for next month as well. And we'll be talking about that come not too awful long. And Derek for just joining in just this past couple of days, man. So thank you guys all so much for this. I think we have 30-some-odd people supporting us on Patreon right now.
Very nice.
Pretty awesome, guys. So if you'd like to do that, where you can go through, vote on movies that we watch and stuff, get the pre-show, post-show, all that kind of good jazz, just head on down to patreon.com/HMP. Watch a little video on there. It took me a while to do it. And
I didn't know there was a video.
Yeah, there's a whole video. I animated a whole video and stuff talking about all the different reward levels and whatnot, and what you get inside of them. Oh,
that's right. I've seen that.
It's a romp and a half. It's a good thing. So thank you guys so much for that. We truly appreciate it. I think we also what do you guys want to do? You want to do let's do an iTunes review.
Okay.
Sure. Because we always like to thank people that go down to the iTunes. Drop us a 5-star review, a.k.a. Humdinger.
Humdinger.
Mm-hmm. This one is from Superhero Fan Chad. Entitled Great Show, 5 stars. This has to be one of the smartest and funniest podcasts I have ever heard. Having just listened to it, this show is super entertaining, along with the Film Fine podcast. I hope everyone has a chance to hear it. That is from Superhero Fan Chad. Superhero Fan Chad, we are a super fan of you, my friend. And we're a super fan of everybody who goes down to the iTunes there, leaves us a 5-star review, a.k.a. Humdinger.
Humdinger?
And if you are reviewing us outside the U.S., copy and paste that bad boy. Send us an email at heremoviepodcast@gmail.com. Therefore, we can, read it there without, because we don't know. We'd have to go to all the different ones all the time. So it's helpful to us. So thanks so much, man. All right.
And if anybody has an HMP tattoo, send us a picture of that.
Boy, I hope you never, ever get a tattoo, but 2, an HMP tattoo.
It's definitely got to be the 3 heads looking up in the sky if you get the tattoo. Full color.
Oh, my God. What an awful idea. Please don't.
Yeah, don't do that. But I will say that, because you've seen the things, man. Like, there are celebrities out there, not that obviously we're that, but that would, how weird would that be to somebody just go, "What's up, bro? I got my face tattooed on your arm." What?
Man, I've got Art Carney on my lower back.
Address the ball. That's a great honeymoon.
Christmas special art, Carney. Star Wars Christmas special art. Carney.
You know it. Trader Vic or whatever his name was.
But thank you guys so much for all that kind of good stuff. And like I said, you can email us at heremoviepodcast@gmail.com. Speaking of which, let's open up the old HMP mailbag.
Bale's here.
Alrighty, this is a good one here. This one's talking about last week. It's entitled Tank Girl. Hey guys, I admit I'd never seen Tank Girl. When Adam was reading the names of the cast and mentioned Ice-T, I started laughing. It reminded me of my buddies and I taking long trips and when we would make up movies with a cast that would always include someone that doesn't seem to fit in a particular type of movie or just with the rest of the cast. Thanks for the laugh, Adam. Longtime listener, Keelan. P.S. Thanks for the Reg E. Kathy impression, John.
You got it, my brother.
This one here is from Matt. It is entitled Praise for Two Podcast. Howdy, gents. I love the Tank Girl episode simply because I love and hate the movies for all the reasons you guys brought up. I recently listened to the Riverdale episode. I'd been putting it off purposely, and I gotta say, Sean is 100% correct. That show is crap.
Finally!
For the record, I haven't watched a single episode since we reviewed it.
Ditto to that. Archie is the proto-teen drama and should have never left the written pages. Anyway, I cannot wait for your review of Wonder Woman. Word is DC and the WB finally did something right, and I'm sure you guys will give us a great episode as always. And he goes on. How's that Dragon Con show looking, by the way? We're not 100% sure, but it's out there. We'll hopefully somebody will say something at some point. Also, cross promo, I finally got on the Preacher train and holy expletive deleted. What an amazing show. He wrote expletive deleted too, so he did a nice thing for us.
Very good.
I can't wait for more Preacher podcasts to add to my listening queue along with all the other episodes of HMP. I love to listen over and over again.
Funny you should bring that up.
What just happened recently?
I don't know. What?
You dropped an episode on. I thought you were going to pick up that
another
ball.
appendix episode.
What am I gonna do?
This newest one is the Saint of Killers appendix episode. I did it with the same guy that did the Jesse Custer appendix episode because that was far and away the most downloaded of the appendices.
There you go. You guys are amazing. Keep up all the work. Matt from Florida, a.k.a. the HM Creeper. And yes, Sean, I held a flashlight up under my face just for that to complete the image for you.
Very good.
Thanks for the joy, fellas. Now, I will say this. He with the parenthetical, I had to read it like I did, but when I initially read it, the way that it's spelled with the capitalized HMP and the lowercase everything else, I read that like Bill Burr would read it. So I'm going to do that. So it's Matt from Florida, a.k.a. the HM Creeper. You know, just one of those kind of where it's just screaming. That's how I read it in my head, and that's how I read it here. Going on, speaking of Wonder Woman, we're going to talk a little bit about Wonder Woman. I'm going to go ahead and read the, there's nothing really specific about the stuff, but I'm going to read some emails here regarding that, and then we'll get into the review. This one's entitled Wonder Woman's Hairless Pits.
Oh, gosh.
Hello, name shamers. I've been holding this grudge since the Power Rangers review, but can't be silent anymore. How dare you besmirch my family name of 69346 D-Rock 69346. That is a third generation, good sirs. I'm only joking. It's all in good fun. However, I feel that I should point out that it was the name that got... good for me today. However, I feel that I should point out that it was the name of God's second worst creation iTunes decided to give me back when I was 15.
Oh.
So he's got an excuse. So I've been listening to your show for quite some time, and finally, after all this time, I decided to contribute to Patreon. You guys do great work and are the most enjoyable group of podcasters that I have the pleasure of listening to. I'm writing this right after seeing Wonder Woman and would like to go on record by saying that it is one of the best DCEU movies thus far. Keep up the great work. Sincerely, 69346 D-Rock 69346, a.k.a. Bruce's cat, a.k.a. Derek.
Derek. So, Derek, if iTunes is the second worst creation, what's the first?
Apple itself, the bunch of devils, they stink. I don't know.
Liza Minnelli, I hate that woman.
Liza Minnelli is where he goes. Okay, sure.
Where did you pull that from?
I watched a Judy Garland documentary last weekend.
I thought he's just sitting back there going, I'm going to take down all these Liza fans. You watch.
I'd like to see that Venn diagram. People who love Liza Minnelli, people who listen to H&P. What's that overlap look like?
You've had it too good for too long. It's just one circle, baby.
That's good. Solid. Very solid.
Next email here, last email. Wonder Woman. This one's entitled Wonder Woman Movie. Hey guys, so I wrote you a while back about how I was trying to get my husband to watch Batman v Superman. I'm not sure if you remember. We certainly do. He did eventually end up watching it with me and hated it, saying it wasn't accurate and it was like watching something from Earth 5. Now he refuses to watch The Suicide Squad because he says it's also inaccurate, and he refuses to see Jared Leto's Joker. For the record, he does like the Dark Knight movies and the CW/DC shows. Surprisingly, he enjoys the Marvel movies, even though he gripes about how Marvel ripped off DC. I swear to God. Bruce, is this your wife? Did she write this?
That's what I'm starting to wonder, man. I'm starting to wonder.
For the most, it's like you guys seem to have a lot of the same... for the most part, all of the characters, etc. My question to you this is interesting. My question to you: should I bring him to see the new Wonder Woman movie? He did not express interest in it. However, I'm not sure if it's at all like Suicide Squad or Batman v Superman, comic book accuracy wise. I think we'll probably get into that.
Can I answer this without giving any spoilers away?
Yeah.
Here is what you do. Have him skip Suicide Squad because he's not going to like it.
No.
Have him skip all the other DC movies that he hasn't seen yet. Have him watch Wonder Woman. He's going to like it.
Just prepare him for the issue with General Ludendorff that the Patreon subscribers heard me talking about.
Oh, man. How did I know you were going to shoehorn something weird in there, Leslie? I knew you were going to do it, and you did it. By the way, we should bring this up right now. Spoilers for Wonder Woman coming up after this.
Well, I'll even reiterate it again just on account of no more.
There is going to be major spoilers for the entire movie.
That's how we do it.
All of it. Spoilers.
Mm-hmm. All right, so she goes on. I just don't want to bring him to a movie that he walks out of. I wanted your thoughts. We just gave him. So I also know nothing about Wonder Woman before listening to last week's Wonder Woman series pilot that you guys did. Great job, by the way. I thought Wonder Woman and Superman were siblings. Incorrect, madam. Thanks, you guys. You awesome as always. Maria from the upstates of the New Yorks.
Here, I've got some advice for Maria of New York.
Mm-hmm.
Potsdam, New York. Potsdam. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sometimes it's nice just to have something really awesome that you enjoy and you don't share with your spouse. So go watch the movie, love it, tell him, wow, I never knew Wonder Woman was from another planet. Just say something that you know is going to make the steam come out of his ears, and he will never in his life see it. And it could be your little practical joke that you kept him from seeing this wonderful movie.
Man, when she had like the katanas come out of her arms, who knew they were supposed to be in her arms? That's amazing. You
never told me she was a cyborg from Uranus.
Oh, I love it.
Have I ever told you guys about the slow burn practical joke I did with my children? That when they were very little, I told them that all the Jackson 5 songs were being my friends when we were little. So my plan was that they would grow up thinking that the Jackson 5 was being my friends, and then one day they would be in the car with their friends, and they go, "Oh, hey, this is my dad and his friends," and then they would be chastised for not knowing that it's the Jackson 5.
Oh man, I had a friend down when I lived in Charlotte, a neighbor from a couple houses down that was a French guy, so he had a heavy French accent. He convinced his son that he was Jean-Claude Van Damme when he was younger.
He was.
That's so great.
Wow.
That's so great. Yeah. The way it ended up for me was that my girls were around 12 or 13 and they were driving with their mom somewhere, and their mom completely ruined the joke when Jackson 5 comes on the radio and one of my girls goes, "Oh, hey, that's Dad and his friends." And their mom went, "What?" and ruined the joke. Ruined it.
Man, I've got a long play, slow burn joke with my kids that I can't reveal just in case they ever listen to the show, but I'll release it in Patreon next week.
Oh, that's great. You got to let me know because those are my favorite.
Oh, fantastic. All right. And again, thank you guys so much for those emails and everything. If you'd like to email us, hit us up at heromoviepodcast@gmail.com. Let us close.
And if you have any slow burns with your kids, please send them in because those are my favorite stories in the whole world.
So let's close up the HMP mailbag.
Fails here.
Oh, boy, oh, boy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get on into it. Here is the trailer for Wonder Woman.
Diana, fighting does not make you a hero.
What if I promise to be careful? Just a shield, then.
Diana.
No sharp edges.
Be careful of mankind, Diana. They do not deserve you.
You've told me this story.
What is this place? Who are you people?
We are the bridge to a greater understanding.
Right.
What is your mission?
Well, here's the thing. You are in more danger than you think. The boys in the trenches called her Dr. Poison. Millions would die. The war would never end.
I'm going, Mother. If you choose to leave, you may never return. Who will I be if I stay?
Will come when you have to
To the war.
Well, technically the war's that way, but we gotta go this way first.
How can a woman fight in this? Ooh.
Who's this young woman?
She's my,
Diana, Princess of the
Prince, Diana Prince. If you believe that this war should stop, help me stop it right now. What are you?
You will soon find out.
Experience it in IMAX 3D June 2nd.
All right. Oh, my gosh.
That was a long trailer.
Yeah, it was. That's what they do. Here's the IMDb plot line. Before she was Wonder Woman, she was Diana, Princess of the Amazons, trained warrior. When a pilot crashes and tells of the conflict of the outside world, she leaves home to fight a war to end all wars, discovering her full powers and true destiny. It's directed by Patty Jenkins, starring Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, Connie Nielsen, Robin Wright, Danny Houston, boatload of other people and everything. Now, before we get going with this, you didn't think I would do it, but we got it. Let's light it up for the first time here.
It's time for Bruce's Comic Book Connection.
All right, Bruce, what do you got for us as far as the comic book connection for Wonder Woman, eh?
Wonder Woman, daughter of Hippolyta, Diana, Princess of Themyscira. She's a founding member of the Justice League, a warrior princess, a demigoddess, an ambassador for the Amazonian people of Greek lore. She was created by the American psychologist William Moulton Marston using the pen name Charles Moulton. Now, Marston was a pretty swinging dude for the 1940s. He based Wonder Woman on Olive Byrne. Olive Byrne just happened to be he and his wife's live-in lover. Because, yes, apparently in the 1940s, the best way for a man to express support for the feminist movement was to regularly engage in what the French call le stuff kinky. Now, Olive Byrne and William Marston met in 1925 while she was a senior attending Tufts University, and he was her psychology professor because academic ethics were different in the 1920s, I suppose. Now, Olive Byrne also happened to be the daughter of Ethel Byrne, who famously opened the first birth control clinic in the United States. And you have to admit, all of this sounds too strange to be true, but it is true. Now, one piece of trivia people love to shoot out about Marston is that he invented the lie detector. Everyone knows this tidbit, but everyone thinks that it makes them special to know it. It's only kind of true. You see, Marston invented the systolic blood pressure test, which, in my opinion, is far more impressive than the lie detector. The polygraph was invented by John Augustus Larson, and as part of the mechanism, it monitors blood pressure. Thus, it uses Marston's invention. Now, instead of mentioning that Wonder Woman's creator invented a key piece of medical technology that is still widely used by medical professionals around the world, a device that potentially prolongs lives and, for heaven's sake, provides a measurement so important that the medical community refers to it as a vital sign, it's not nearly as interesting as just saying, hey, Wonder Woman has a lasso of truth because Marston was obsessed with detecting lies. I'll say this, to the contrary. I would suggest that a fellow who likes to pitch his woo with multiple ladies at the same time might be more obsessed with lying convincingly. But enough about Marston. He is not the woman of the hour. That honor goes to Diana Prince. After World War II, superhero comics ended quite abruptly. The golden age of comics came to a dismal end, not unlike the fall of the Roman Empire. And just like the Roman Empire, they didn't end completely. Byzantium persevered the dark ages of humanity as a bridge between the height of the Roman Empire and the Renaissance. A few superheroes remained in print to connect the golden and silver ages of comics. But only the most iconic of heroes could survive that artistic devastation. One was Superman. He was to comic what Romulus was to Rome, the founder, never to be forgotten. The other to survive was Batman, the gothic creature of the night rooted so deeply in our psyches by thousands of years of folklore that he couldn't help but survive. Yep, just those two were able to bridge that gap. Oh, hold on. A production assistant just handed me a note. Let me see what it says. Oh, apparently Wonder Woman, the most recognizable lady in comics, survived this gap too. Well, I guess I learned something today. But yes, along with Batman and Superman, Wonder Woman survived the comicopolis. Does that sound right? Comicopolis? I don't know.
Yes, you said that right, but it's pronounced Byzantium.
Okay. Well, together with those other two guys I mentioned, Wonder Woman makes up DC's Trinity, a name with sacred connotations. So if she is one of the big three, why did Superman get 7 movies and Batman get 8 movies before Wonder Woman got 1? Well, the answer is simple, because men are idiots. Now, I have a long-standing belief about story structure. I believe a group story works best when 2 overconfident and self-involved men are propelled to victory by the presence of a lone, competent female. After seeing the results of Batman v Superman and Wonder Woman on the big screen, I dare say this is proving true in the real world of cinema. I'm not one to pile on really good actors like Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck, but I've got some advice for those two gentlemen. Hitch your wagons to Wonder Woman and Gal Gadot. I think that lady is going places. And P.S. to the old white dude smoking cigars in the executive offices of Warner Brothers, if Patty Jenkins offers any friendly advice, maybe pay attention to it.
Why would we do that? It has it. It's not like this is one of the best. It's tied with Dark Knight for being the best reviewed comic book movie of all time, and didn't open to a worldwide first weekend grossing of $223 million. What? No, we'll just keep on track doing what we do. Bunch of dummies.
Here's what's going to happen. You have Joss Whedon at the helm right now. Mm-hmm. You have Wonder Woman as the most successful, most surprisingly successful movie of the DCEU. Mm-hmm. You're going to have Wonder Woman become the linchpin of all of the Justice League movies. That is what's going to happen. She is going to be the Tony Stark of DC.
And I'm making a not so bold prediction, but I think Patty Jenkins may direct Justice League 2 when that rolls around.
I would not doubt that in any way, and they would be right to do it because this movie's pretty terrific.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like I said, this thing is tied with Dark Knight at 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. That is a big deal. Like, like even the giant Marvel movies still usually getting the low 90s, high 80s usually.
And here we go. Let's drop the spoilers thing here again,
yes. Well,
just in case someone fast forward through all of that. Our opening screed.
Mm-hmm.
Spoilers from here on out for Wonder Woman.
You have been warned.
So here is the thing about Wonder Woman that if you guys don't mind me just jumping in here.
Sure.
Go right ahead.
What Wonder Woman is what Superman needed to be.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's hopeful. There's joy to it. It is wonderfully made. She has a crisis of conscience, but goes to the light by the end of it. Mm-hmm. There's even nods to the Christopher Reeve Superman where she stops the bullet.
Even down to like location and design of clothes they're wearing.
Yes,
it's so close.
It is. This movie is better than it has any right to be, quite honestly, because that this was made by committee. But it is so wonderful and such a joy to watch. There are a few problems with it. I don't care about those problems. At the end of the day, after you walk out of Wonder Woman, at least I did. When I walked out of Wonder Woman, I thought, "Wow, this movie is really, really terrific."
And I'll also say that I think Gal Gadot turned in a great performance. I also think that Patty Jenkins has a magic touch with what I think she did for this movie. But I also want to mention that this is the first film with Jeff Johns in his bumped up role, because after Batman v Superman, they decided that they were disappointed with the product and really pushed him forward. It was too late for him to really be as involved with Suicide Squad. But this is the most involved Jeff Johns has ever been with the movie. And I want to, he's a great comic book guy. So I'm hoping that maybe he can be a stabilizing force amongst the other movies because Patty obviously can't direct them all.
Yeah, and it's one thing that Marvel's kind of done well for a long, long time as involved comic book creators and people that have done stuff and just go like, hey, what do you think about this? Is there some way that what's missing that we don't see? And they've gotten that information and it's made for better movies. And I wouldn't be shocked if that was a factor here as well.
Yeah. So I mean, he was one of the first people working on this script.
Well, it's quite good. Now, I will say this to me. First, I just want to say I like the movie. I don't want to, but if it falls in, I think it feels a little bit too long. Feels like they could have chopped some stuff out of this and it wouldn't have hurt. But the nice part to hear is that, from what I understand, this is the ultimate cut. There's nothing really that they, chopped off the table and, said, oh, we'll put that on a DVD later or whatever. This is what they wanted. So at least it's all out there, and it's not like, well, you have another 30 minutes that are going to blow your mind.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I'm very glad that didn't happen this time. I also like that my favorite thing about this movie is that there's not a single character in this movie where you're just like, oh, my God, this is killing it for me. Like in Batman v Superman, you had Lex Luthor that was killing it for me. And Suicide Squad. Yeah. There's like four characters in that movie where you're just like, geez, you got to be kidding me with these people. There's nothing in this movie that rubs me the wrong way character wise. Beat for beat, this movie is like a whole lot of other superhero movies. You have origin story, you have blue light in the sky, you have somebody who turns, you have all just the over and over and over the same beats that every comic book movie has. But here's the thing: when it's done well, none of that matters. Mm-hmm. It's still good. And when something is done competently, it doesn't matter if you're hitting the same beats that everyone else has hit before, as long as you're doing them well. And this movie does them all very well.
Yeah, if you complain when they're like, oh, there's a song in the key of G. Oh, I've heard these other songs in the key of G. It's like, yeah, but come on, dude. It still can be good.
Now, and near the end, when we get to it, there were two times where I thought that it was being blown. I thought that they were giving me this movie I loved and not sticking the landing, but then they were faking me out, because then they gave me exactly what I wanted, and then when that came up short, they gave me exactly what I wanted again. So we'll get into that as it unravels, but they even went so far as to make me think, oh, it was so good, why are they messing it up now? And then, oh, they did exactly what I thought they should have done. Oh, they even did what else I thought they should have done.
Yeah, there's a lot to like about this movie. Gal Gadot is awesome in it. She is going to become a gigantic superstar. I don't think there's any doubt about it after watching this movie.
I mean, not for nothing though. Like, you know, she has been in, like, you know, the majority of those Fast and Furious movies. So I mean, it's not. But now, granted, she was wildly underused in those films. But it's not like this is her first go around, man. She's been around for a long time. But I'm so glad that we get to see her at the forefront of these things. I think that's really she's going to be the star.
One of those things where I just can't picture anybody else's Wonder Woman now. I mean, she hit every note on that character that I wanted to see hit. You know, she made me understand why it's called the Holy Land, I guess.
You know, there's two things about her that I really like. One is that she looks like she can handle herself in a fight, which comic book movies get wrong all the time.
Which, when she was first cast, I was a little scared about, because in the Fast and Furious movies, she's a little wafy. She was kind of small, but man, she bulked up in all the right places, but kept all the femininity and stuff. And so, but you're right, she's got that. Looks like I can throw a dude around. It would make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, she looks like she can actually throw a punch. I mean, I know that there's stunt women doing a majority of the work for her, but it doesn't matter.
Not from what I read. From what I read, she did most of, if not all, the stunts herself.
And talking about the stunts and the physicality, I just quickly did a Google search about her military service, because Israel does have universal service for all men and women in Israel. And she was in the Israeli military for 2 years, where she was a combat trainer.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah.
So I think that might have something to do with it. She even credits that time with preparing her for Hollywood.
Yeah. And she was like in the Miss Universe pageant in like 2004. So like she's got like everything.
Yeah,
it's kind of unfair.
But to get back to the original point here, Adam, is that yes, she's been in some pretty high stakes movies. She has not been she's not been at the helm of those movies. Right. I think that from this point forward, what you're going to see is she's going to be one of the first people optioned when it comes to like, oh hey, we have another big tentpole movie here. Let's bring in Gal Gadot.
We need strong woman. There you go. Boom.
Yeah, and I think that it all those roles that used to go to only Scarlett Johansson are now going to be divvied up between her and Gal Gadot.
And she really has that good balance. I mean, she can emote in her acting and has the physicality, and that's just sort of a rare thing to find for men or women.
Yeah, totally agree. I think, like I said at the top of the show, DC is going to be doing things wrong if they don't start shifting things from majority Batman to, Gal Gadot Wonder Woman here, where, oh, awesome, Wonder Woman's in this, because shoehorning Batman into Suicide Squad was not an awesome move. Yeah. But if you would have seen Wonder Woman show up for 5 minutes in Suicide Squad, that would have been different. That would have been pretty cool.
And yeah, man, because the possibilities are just so wide open, because this character has been underutilized for so long. And, Batman, we've already kind of seen so much that it's any aspect of any new Batman movies are going to feel like a repeat or be compared to something else. But with Wonder Woman, they've just got this whole blank canvas that they can fill with wonderful, wonderful stuff.
I think that's where a lot of this movie and just like you say, gets the best of all the worlds. Because it does have that, like, we haven't had that. We haven't had a giant Wonder Woman property for so long that there's nothing to compare it to. Not really. And the fact that they come in swinging like they do, it just is a big tell. It shows that they're starting to get it.
Yeah, I think so. I hope so. And I know you said that you felt it was a little overly long, Adam, but I think the only thing that I would have been okay with cutting out of this would be the first part of the framing story, which means it wouldn't be a framing story anymore. But probably would have been okay without that little introduction where they're kind of recapping stuff that I already know. I know there may be some people out there that didn't see BVS and don't understand it without that little intro, but I would have been fine just going straight to Themyscira. Then at the end, just, have something pop up 100 years later or something like that and have her in Paris and she's jumping off to go who knows where. But, of course, I think that's when she's going to fight Doomsday. But I think they could have cut off the first half of the framing story and it would have not compromise the movie. I would hate to take any risks with the middle part because it was so well put together.
I just feel like because I don't think there's like big scenes where I would go like, boy, this needs to go out, or like I don't feel that there was a ton of stuff that necessarily went on too long. Just feels like it could have just like the pace could have been chopped up just a little bit, just a little bit quicker.
Because I would say every time I started to worry it was going to drag, then it was like they had a feedback monitor on me and they kicked it up at just that moment.
No, you're absolutely
right. They really found
right.
the perfect way to stretch out the anticipation just the perfect amount and then kick in the action. Because, you do need a little moment to catch your breath. If it's nonstop action, then it becomes something cheesy like The Expendables.
I knew the second I there was one moment in this movie where I was like, this is going to tell me if I am going to enjoy this movie or not. And she goes to the edge of the cliff to, ponder things. And I was like, depending on how long this takes is going to be very dependent on my enjoyment of this movie. And then you see the plane fall out of the sky. And I was like, oh, there we go. Okay, so this is the movie we have, and to me it was just pitch perfect. It really was.
When she's with Etta Candy trying on not costumes, but trying on turn of the century outfits, I thought, okay, this better be the last one, and it was. So it was that same kind of timing, like, okay, this has gone on long enough. It better be right here, or it'll be too long. And she came out in the really good wardrobe choice.
Yes, sir.
With the glasses.
I like the silly addition of the glasses. I love the line of just like, oh yeah, you throw some glasses on her. She's still not just the most beautiful woman ever. Come on.
And
that was pretty good.
And if I can reference a movie we reviewed not too long ago, I think that would have been a good scene to say, I'm Mary Poppins, y'all, because she had a real Mary Poppins vibe with that final outfit.
Well, the glasses also, it's funny because the glasses are a nod to the Linda Carter.
Because she did the Clark Kent thing.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I was kind of disappointed we didn't get a little Linda Carter cameo, but I can understand why not.
They hate her. We got it. No. We all know that Patty Jenkins has said it in her autobiography. We've all read it.
What?
I don't know.
The autobiography, Thinking Jenkins.
She was busy filming the season finale for Supergirl when this was being filmed. Is my story, and I'm sticking to it. Though it's absolutely probably not true.
Beats me. But since she's going to be in the real world, we can bring her in at some point. It's not impossible.
So one of the things about this movie that I thought was very deftly handled is getting her into World War I. Because she's naive. It's sort of a Crocodile Dundee thing where she's way tougher than everyone else around her, but like fish out of water. And the way that they handled it was so deftly done of, I've got to go find Ares. He's at the front line. I'm sure he is. Like, instead of doing what superhero movies in the 90s did, where they tried to hide all that stuff, they were just like, nope, we're going headlong into this. She thinks Ares is at the front line, and let's go. That's exactly what they're going to do. And I thought that was wonderfully, wonderfully handled, because that's such a shift of tone, and it didn't matter. They did it so well.
And I think they handled the fish out of water stuff with a really good hand. They didn't hit it too heavy. I think they handled it every bit as well as the Captain America movies have. Probably a little bit better than Thor has, because it's not so over the top. But she's dressed like Mary Poppins, carrying a shield and sword down the middle of a London street. That was funny.
That was great. And she doesn't know what things are, and she eats ice cream for the first time, which is a nod to the comic books.
And animation. They've used that joke a couple times, and I love it. And Etta Candy with a British accent, man. I didn't know how that would sit with me, but I like it.
Well, whenever you bring in the other girl from Shaun of the Dead, it's going to be okay.
And, you know, I love Etta Candy from the comics, but, you know, I'm always picturing her with that Boston accent. And this was a nice transition.
You know, everybody was well cast, I thought. Even though it's such a, it feels like such a crib of the first Avenger, Captain America, where everybody's a different nationality and everybody has their own thing that they do. But I mean, you know, they've been doing war movies like that since they started making movies. So I guess you have to do that.
How did you guys feel about the creative choice to use World War I instead of World War II?
I liked it because it's different. You know, we don't usually see World War I, and that is where the most atrocities took place. You know, quite frankly, with gas and
at the very least, it was the birthplace of atrocities on that level.
There you go, and you're right. That's a much better way of phrasing it. And so to have gas be such a massive part of this was a very good idea, and it doesn't feel like well trod upon plot. You know, where it's a little different than what you're used to. You know, Captain America is also a fish out of water, and he fought in World War II. It was a nice change, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think I like it on 3 different levels, or for 3 different reasons. I think you've covered them, but World War I feel like is underserved. There have been so many movies that are set in or around World War II. I think it was a nice choice. I like it because it made Wonder Woman feel a little bit older. I think it gave us the idea of how ancient she is. I mean, she's 5,000 years old in the comics, and then also it kept it from feeling too much like Captain America. You know, even though her comic book origins are in World War II, just like his, I thought it was a nice touch to say, you know what, let's make this seem older, more established, give it a different feel. And I think that worked great for me.
Yeah, me too. They also, the other part to it, which we were talking about a little bit earlier, is that, you know, they tried to make her an innocent but not so innocent, you know, like they really straddled that line really well in this movie where, yes, there's many things she's naive about, but the big things there is no naivete at all when it comes to
what I would say is they made her innocent without being naive. I mean, she's educated, extremely well educated. She understands things. She just doesn't dwell on them or hasn't had experience with some of the popular culture things of the time. But I thought they did a real good job. She's grown up with women, entirely around women. But when she's in the boat with Steve Trevor, she mentions that she's read those books that came to the conclusion that though men were essential for reproduction, they were not necessary for pleasure or something like that. And it gives us the understanding that even though she's like straight-laced, she understands what's up. It's a conscious decision to be this way.
I'm not stupid.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
And I'll give it this as one of the great parts about this, and one of the first times I think that we've truly seen it in the DC. They say extended universe. I had a big jag on this when we were doing our like the episode that I was streaming live last night with a couple of HMP listeners and stuff. But they call it the DCEU. What's extended about it? Does anyone know? It's just the movies. Anyways, that's just I'm griping.
Well, they don't want to sound like they just don't want to make it sound like the MCU.
That's
so.
what
Well, I mean, but there's the DCU, which is the comics. There's the DCAU, which is the animated universe. So, I mean, do they want to go DCCU? I don't know. DCEU sounds fine. They're trying to, it worked for the EU in Star Wars, so why not let DC do that?
It makes more sense there because it's several different things. Because it also, it includes books, it includes video games, it includes, comic books. This is just movies. Anyway, I digress.
And if they didn't already have a C in the name, it would probably be like MCU and if they were still, I don't know what they would be, but they can't really do the cinematic universe because they've already got the C there, and it just starts to be weird.
Just DC.
But DCU something different.
How about DCMM? I don't know. Anyway, what my point really was was that comedy. There's laughs throughout this movie, and it feels like so many of the other DC movies. There's a scant little bit of it, but for the most part, it's pretty dry. This, you have some laughter, you have some humor, and boy, oh boy, does it makes for a good movie.
And it's successful attempts at humor too, because you know they had some attempts at humor in Suicide Squad that fell kind of flat. They've had unsuccessful attempts in other movies, you know, not just Warner Brothers and DC. But this wasn't just an attempt at humor; it was well done, and it fit in without distracting from the movie around it,
and added to it. In fact,
yeah, definitely.
Now, I'll throw a couple of little nits out there, just because I think it's only fair. I love the way Paradise Island looked. I love it. Everything looked fantastic. And it also, at the same time, well, granted, I didn't watch it. It looked a lot in a similar way to the Linda Carter stuff, right? It still had that kind of almost aesthetic to it as far as with the green and everything.
But costumes in this movie weren't quite the same as the Linda Carter one.
But obviously.
No, and also, I mean, you know, the budget is so vastly different.
Oh,
too.
of course. But it felt like there was almost a small knot in there. But it was because it was lovely, it was bright, it was colorful and everything. And first of all,
right, because they shot the Linda Carter Wonder Woman in Southern California, whereas
this one was actually shot in the Mediterranean, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So it looks fantastic and everything, but boy, oh boy, if DC don't want, if the DC down inside don't want to come out all the time, once we leave there, it is a brown glob of goo again, and I'm just like,
well, it is World War I, man. What do you? Did you think there were a lot of Schumacher neon lights in World War I?
I just want a little bit. I don't know.
Look, if we're gonna have an actual nit about this movie, here is something that came up because I saw this movie with my lady, and the thing that she could not stand is that Wonder Woman, every frame of this entire movie is clean, completely and utterly. She busts through that tower, the church tower, killing that German, and she comes out of it. Not a fragment of dust is on her when she's standing over the top of the town.
Not even a slight brush off. Yeah.
I absolutely agree with your lady friend there. And the one thing that makes that even a little bit more jarring is the fact that she looks so actually like war-torn and dirty and dusty in that old picture. Right. Like I never see the frame in the movie. Like I see the frame in the movie when that picture's taken, but Gal Gadot does not look like the Wonder Woman in that picture when they're taking it. And I would have liked to have seen the little, like I would like to see her start to look a little bit like a member of Genghis Khan's horde there towards the end.
It's pretty, and actually it took me out of the movie a little bit, because once you start noticing that, what I start noticing after Lindsay brought that up, is that I started noticing that, every frame of this movie is a glamour shot of Gal Gadot, which is fine by me because she's a lovely lady. Yeah. But it's almost like watching a Tom Cruise movie, where Tom Cruise, every single frame of a Tom Cruise movie, he's picture perfect in it, you know? And that is what's happening in Wonder Woman, which is, you know, actually probably more likely, since she is, you know, the sum of all parts of how wonderful women can be. Like, that makes sense. But it was a little off-putting after she brought that up.
And if it was just Wonder Woman, I would explain it away by saying she's a demigoddess. What do you expect? She has absolute control over matter at some level. But also, Chris Pine looks pretty darn clean and well-groomed and good-smelling, despite the fact he's a prisoner of war. Even like the supporting characters, like the guy in the kilt and Sammy with the fez and Chief, you know, they even look pretty darn like freshly showered in every scene too. So that was sort of a movie-wide issue.
Well, the sharpshooter, his name is Charlie.
Yeah.
By Ewan Bremner. I love that guy. I think he's a terrific actor.
And I'm going to say something else about that guy. There's no way that guy should be wearing underwear under his kilt, because you know that's the kind of guy that just goes free.
We've all seen Braveheart also. We know how that goes. But I like those guys, you know. I like her little rabble of ne'er-do-wells. I think that's a cool little thing, and I get it that it's, you know, it's basically cribbing from the Howling Commandos, but I don't care. Like,
it's probably cribbing from Easy Company, the DC property that was the inspiration for the Howling Commandos. They had the sharpshooter with bad eyesight and all that kind of stuff.
That snake is eating itself.
Yeah.
I love the guy Samir, or as I like to call him, not Clifton Collins Jr. He's great though. He's in so many things. It's like, and him and Clifton Collins Jr. look an awful lot alike, but they're both great.
I think that the actor that played Samir, fantastic, man. He from the supporting characters, including Chris Pine as a supporting actor in this movie, he was the one that stole the show. Other than of course, Gal Gadot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, Chris Pine, I don't think gets as much credit as he should. I mean, I think he gets some, but I think he is so good on screen in everything that he's in. He's just
he really is.
He's a movie star, and he's not a half bad actor, and those are two different things.
You are right.
I would say of the two actors I'm familiar with to have played Captain Kirk, I like his cadence of speech the best.
I think that I mentioned this on your old podcast, Adam, but one of the things that I really like about Chris Pine as Captain Kirk is whenever the character of Captain Kirk is acting, Chris Pine does he does a William Shatner impression. I love that he does that. That is smart. That is good acting.
Yeah, to really see that just in the first movie, to give you like an example of a time code that you can kind of go to, just when they're the Kobayashi Maru, that point where he turns around, he's eating that apple, he's doing Shatner right off the bat. It's so good.
It is Shatner all day, baby.
And let's stay on the topic of Chris Pine for a minute, because I got a couple more things. But the first thing I'd like to say about him is he feels like the guy that almost got a lot of big parts. Like he feels like the guy that almost made it to a certain level that he deserved to make it to, and for some reason didn't. Maybe Steve Trevor will be that role for him. I don't know if you guys feel that way or not, but I wonder what they're going to do about Steve Trevor. Are they going to Captain America him or Winter Soldier him? Because he did sign a multi-picture deal.
It feels like he has to, because he's such a good part. The two of them play off of each other fantastically well. They're a really great pair.
Maybe they are space him.
Maybe.
Oh no, they can't do that, man. He's too cute for that. What they could do is the old Lyle Wagner. Oh, apparently you worked with my great grandfather in World War I. Don't you think we look alike? Let's never speak of this again.
What do you think? We look exactly the same. What are the odds? I'd say pretty good.
They could absolutely do that.
But I'm thinking about, would they Captain America him or Winter Soldier him? And I think they Winter Soldier him. They could have him show him back up like. I don't know, that maybe Darkseid pulls his corpse up from the ground and reanimates him to fight against Wonder Woman, because that's the only way he thinks he can beat her, and then they manage to turn him back to the good side,
Listen, stop giving them ideas just because
Darkseid can do that?
Yeah, of course, man. He made the Black Racer. He can do anything.
Oh, Black Racer.
And Darkseid has to throw out the line if Jeff Johns is involved. He has to tell Wonder Woman that she may be one of the old gods, but he's a new god or something like that.
Right.
New and improved.
What I want to see is that slogan that they were using for a while, which is Darkseid is.
Oh boy, that's a winner.
Hungry for pancakes.
Darkseid is excellent at canasta. That's a YouTube channel you need,
weird
Sean.
Pulls, Leslie. You've got a lot of weird pulls.
You need a YouTube channel, Sean, called Canasta with Darkseid.
Honestly, that's the next book that we should do. We should have a picture book of Darkseid is and him just doing funky weird things.
Yes, like you have ever written.
I'm gonna draw it. I'll draw it. Bruce can write it, and I'll come up with one or two. Hey, you.
Darkseid is able to fully complete the triple Lindy. Just him and Rodney Dangerfield side by side.
So let's talk a little bit about this, because the Wonder Woman movie, like I said, has been very highly rated by critics and everything. And an article that I read talked about why that might necessarily be. And it is because this movie does follow a lot of the same tracks that other movies, let's call them Marvel movies, have done. It goes through that kind of standard trope and everything. And like Sean said, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Do we feel like with the kind of same olds that we've been kind of getting, do you think that's a good thing? I think it is. I think it's great.
I think it's a wonderful movie. I think it keeps in place the tropes that we expect to see while also giving us something we've never seen before. And that's the challenge. Now, it's a bad thing when you just change the names, locations, and dates. It's a good thing when you keep those tropes that people enjoy while also giving us something we've never seen before. And that's what they do here. And that's what sets this apart from so many other movies that are just very, very clearly a reproduction with different names, actors, and dates.
Right.
Yeah, the other thing about this is that DC, especially this new iteration of DC, hasn't had one of these yet. Where you're like, oh, you know what? That was a really well done movie. They don't have one of those in the DCEU yet, and now they do. They finally have one. So now they don't have to do it. Oh, here is your origin story. There's a big blue light in the sky. They don't have to do any of that anymore.
Now, the reason I bring that up is I then want to posture this one to you is that with that in play of being more like those other things, I feel that this movie falls into a lot of at least one in particular of the problems that the Marvel films get constantly dinged at for being, and that's I don't think the villains in this are all that great.
Well, I want to talk about that more when we're ready to talk about how this movie wraps up, because I've got some detailed thoughts on that, and I'm going to agree, then disagree, then start to agree again, then strongly disagree.
It's a roller coaster of emotions.
Well, I will tell you, see, because here is the thing that Marvel movies have that Wonder Woman has, is that, yes, there is the external conflict. And the external conflict is a bit of a problem for Wonder Woman, but that's not the biggest conflict in this movie. The biggest conflict is the inner conflict with her. You're not trying to make Major League, you're trying to make the Bad News Bears with Wonder Woman. And so it doesn't matter if the Bad News Bears win the game or not, because they're finally okay with themselves. Mm-hmm. So they don't have to win the big game. Whereas in Major League, you have to win the big game because there is no inner conflict with those players. And so with Wonder Woman...
What about A League of Their Own? Go ahead and throw that one in here.
Well, that's a good one too, but that has both. Like, that has the external and internal conflict, and they're both good. Whereas the inner struggle of Wonder Woman is far more interesting than the external struggle of Wonder Woman in this movie.
And if you got Field of Dreams, they're all dead, so that's another level.
Uh-huh.
Well, let's talk about this then. I guess now's as good a time as any. But the villains that she faces, Ludendorff, kind of nice, a little history throw in there. Madam Poison, Dr. Poison rather, a Wonder Woman villain from the comics, and it's kind of nice to put her in there, and I'm glad they didn't rely on her to be the big bad per se, because I'm sick of something I had to grow up with. Every time I watched the Super Friends, if there were a group of villains fighting a group of heroes, Cheetah had to fight Wonder Woman because they just thought that it wasn't right for a man and a woman to fight with each other, though the comics have been doing it forever. Mm-hmm. But it was kind of nice to have her in there. It kind of makes sense in context of World War I and poison gases, given that that's kind of what Dr. Poison does in the comics. But Ludendorff, I was sitting here watching this movie unfold, and I kept, waiting for something more to happen or some kind of a reveal or something. And then, she's fighting Ludendorff at the end. She's getting ready to destroy him. He's got his little nose sniffer that's kind of like his own version of super soldier serum. And I'm thinking, this is upsetting me. They should have given Wonder Woman a worthy opponent. Wonder Woman deserves to defeat Ares, not just Ludendorff. And she kills Ludendorff. And I'm kind of like bummed that they gave her such an unsatisfying villain, give her a worthy opponent. And then Ares shows up when I'm not expecting it. And he shows up as Sir Patrick, which I wasn't expecting. I'm starting to like that again. I'm like, okay, so she's fighting him. And then all of a sudden he's just using power. And we're not really seeing a comic book accurate Ares, this big, gigantic, scary beast in ridiculous World of Warcraft armor. He looks more like Jeffrey Jones at the end of Howard the Duck shooting his electric beams at her and stuff. And I'm like, okay, I'm glad they gave her Ares, but I really, really wanted to see like the over-the-top Ares in his armor. And then all of a sudden they give us that. Not only that, they give us a CGI of Sir Patrick with a buff body on him, which was worth the price of admission alone to see Remus Lupin looking like he has Drax's body. By the way, call me Weta. I need some pictures made. But anyway, and then, he calls out the armor and he turns into the comic book accurate Ares. So it's one of those things where I think I'm going to be disappointed. Then I get what I want. Then I start to feel disappointed. Then I get absolutely what I want. And then she straight up beats him, not like Dirty Trick beat him. He doesn't get away to come back in the sequel set in World War II to be Hitler or anything like that. I was very satisfied with her villain here, particularly since the scale of what she's trying to do is more than just defeat the villain, but more along the lines of make the world a better place.
Agreed. But I don't think that a lot of people are going to walk away from this thinking that Ares was the big bad in this movie. I think people are going to forget who her villain is in this movie.
Well, that's on them.
Well, no, I don't think it is. I think it's on the storytellers, because I'm the same way. It's just like, we all love to hate Danny Houston. He does great with, all the stuff that he does. And then, you're at the end, and if you don't know much, you're just like, oh, Dovahkiin here. There's some Morrowind stuff coming in. Nice outfit. And then that's just about, you're like, okay, was that the... So,
I mean, do you think this movie would have been better with Ares running around for 45 minutes to an hour?
Oh, no, of course not.
Okay.
No, look, man, the big bad in this movie isn't that big a deal for this movie. It's the reason, like I was trying to say earlier, it's the reason why Marvel has a, quote, supervillain problem, unquote, because a lot of the struggle is internal. It's not external. And it doesn't need it. This movie doesn't need a gigantic, like, match-for-match power set of Wonder Woman. It doesn't need it. And it didn't have it, and that's great. There's no orgy of supervillains that she's fighting at the same time, it's tiered and it's nice, and that's exactly the way that this movie needed to be, and I thought they nailed it. They did a good job.
And I'm going to be honest, man, I have a lot of enjoyment that was derived from her taking on the machine gun nests and taking on, when she's running across the no man's land there with everybody firing down on her, and she's just got the shield out there, keeping the bullets flying off of her and everything. I think I like that more than if she were out there, fighting a more comic book typical villain. I like that better than if General Zod was just going around destroying the world while she kept failing to stop him until the final 10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, think of how unsatisfying Man of Steel is with the what felt like, I'm not sure the exact time, but 4.5 hour fight scene between Superman and Zod.
It's close.
Yeah.
Where, like, they're going through Dunkin' Donuts, they're going through IHOPs, they're going through gas stations. It's like, come on. Like, how much more of this are we going to be forced to watch?
They literally do go through Dunkin' Donuts in that, don't they? It's been a while, but
it's an IHOP actually. Because,
they had some serious product placement in a weird locations.
Hey, it was no Power Rangers and the Krispy Kreme, so
it would have been great if they had like an Arby's in the middle of World War I as product placement.
Oh man! By the way, kids,
how happy am I with the world movie viewing audience that there will not be a second Power Rangers movie. Thank you, one and all Planet Earth.
I didn't see that got canceled. Bummed. Is that canceled?
Very glad. Good job, Planet Earth.
They were holding back all the good stuff for the second one.
Yeah, the good stuff.
You saved the gold for the sequel. Ask Spider-Man 2. They know what's there.
Oh man!
It would have been the Spider-Man 2 of Power Rangers movies. They try and they try and they try. Go ahead.
But yeah, they do have this good final battle, in my opinion, with Ares. He pulls out the armor. Then they also have a nice way to make Steve Trevor essential. Like, she can't do everything, and he has to drive off and die in that explosion in the sky. Something else that I'm real happy they didn't do, because I think you're bringing Ares and war crimes and a new secret super weapon that that Dr. Poison is developing. I'm glad they didn't try to say, that they were on the verge of having an atomic bomb to drop in World War I, 20 years before, 30 years before it should have been available. I'm glad they avoided that, because, that's got to be the temptation to just say, yeah, it's this really bad thing because it's even stronger mustard gas. I think that works better.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was worried about that at first too, just like you were. We have a newer, bigger secret weapon, and that was my fear. That or what is it called? It's not cyberpunk. It's
steampunk. Yeah, they didn't steampunk it up. And I'll go ahead and say that, as good as the first Avenger was, I didn't like the idea of Tesseract-powered weapons shooting lasers in World War II. I'm glad they didn't do anything like that in World War I here.
Yeah, it was pretty great. Good job by them.
And, there at the end when she's fighting against Sir Patrick, Remus Lupin, Ares, whatever you want to call him.
AKA.
And the sword crumbles against his hand, and we finally get the reveal that the sword's not the god killer, you are.
That's great.
I thought that was kind of a nice touch. I liked the way that I knew it was coming, but I felt like it was the right thing to have here in that moment of realization. And then when she fully understands her powers, I liked it, man.
Me too, and I thought it was a nice visual having that sword turn to dust. That was a very nice touch.
It's such a good storytelling thing that you set it up, you made it a thing, she got the thing, and you know that this is going to be the thing, and then it doesn't. It's like, wow, storytelling. How about that?
And I loved it, man. It made perfect sense. They've brought elements of Wonder Woman that are newer. The whole idea of Zeus being her father and that she wasn't really sculpted from clay. All of that since 2011. Grant Morrison's done a nice retelling of her origin story. Brian Azzarello did a nice retelling. So did Greg Rucka. They all got thanked in the credits because their elements were used. And I really like that they don't think they have to stick to what everybody thinks of as the classic origin to make her work, because there's a reason that these really talented folks made her origin more interesting, and that's because it's more interesting.
Yeah, that's a good point, Bruce. That how many people on the street can you pull over and go, "Hey, what's Wonder Woman's origin story?"
No, they don't.
She's a cyborg from Uranus.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But I did notice, there's no credit scenes here. No mid-credits, no end credits.
Nope.
And I'm fine with that. But I don't know. Were you guys hoping to get something there?
No. I was glad that there wasn't any. Marvel has that cornered. That's their thing. That is not DC's thing.
Yeah,
DC needs its own
but then
thing.
again, everybody's doing it these days. So
I was just hoping for about 10 seconds with Josh Brolin as Darkseid turning around at the end.
Yeah.
Let's cast him for every character now.
Yeah, he's in everything now.
But when they did give that special thanks, like I said, Brian Azzarello, Greg Rucka, Grant Morrison, I might or might not have been in that. George Perez got a special thank you. A lot of people who've contributed to Wonder Woman over the years got a thank you. But Adam, do you know who did not get a thank you?
Stan Lee. And I came up with Wonder Woman all by myself, true believers.
The uncredited co-creator of Wonder Woman did not get a thank you.
What's his name again?
I'm not going to say it because I think that's why he didn't get the thank you. I'm telling you, if his parents had just named him George, he would have been in the credits.
What's his name? Harry Balls?
Close.
Harry Peter, that's it. I forgot almost.
Harry Peter, that's right.
I was trying to dig in the old brain skull. I'm like, I know something's down in here. Where's it at?
Bill Finger, Harry Peter.
It's a fun time. Hey, man, comics are nothing. It's like, why do people take pseudonyms? I don't know. I won't talk real quick. I love little 8-9-year-old Wonder Woman. I thought that little actress was great. She just had the smile and positivity. Everything about it just it made me just fall in love with the character right then and there before we ever see her as an adult. And I thought that was such a great thing. First of all, Paradise Island. Could there be more? Could it just be a bigger island full of more attractive people? Oh my goodness!
Only if Samir was there. Remember, he said, "So there's a woman where they all look like her, and there's no men. How soon can we get there?"
Yeah, there's no doubt, dude. I'm just like, who wouldn't want to be stranded on this thing?
And as a guy who loves fantasy movies, I love Game of Thrones. I love all the old sword and sandals kind of movies like 300. I loved seeing the Amazonians storm the beaches while the World War I guys were there with their rifles. I loved everything about that scene.
That was pretty great.
It was great. It was shot really well, and it was different, especially with them kind of coming down on the little lines and everything. We just haven't seen anything like that. And it's in a genre that we've seen thing after thing after thing. It's nice to go, oh, wow, surprise.
And, one thing that's key about Themyscira, all the Amazonians are pretty cool, pretty awesome, pretty pretty good at kicking butt, but Wonder Woman is special even amongst the Paradise Islanders, and I think they communicated that in this movie too.
Yeah, I mean, they had that great just kind of, and I'm a sucker for it in all these types of films, where it's just, where, you know, it's like, you're going to be the chosen one. You're the one that we're going to, you know, we're trying to, you know, you'll train her 10 times harder than everybody, 100 times harder than everybody. You're going to make her the blah, blah, blah. That's, I don't know, I dig that stuff so hard.
Oh, man, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought this up, Adam, because one of the things that I really liked about this movie is that, yes, she is the chosen one, and there's not that scene where I don't want to be the chosen one, like every other chosen one movie is.
Yeah.
Like, she welcomes it. She wants to be the chosen one. That's awesome.
She's like, good, let's get rolling.
Yeah, it was more in line with, you know, she didn't leave Tatooine until Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru were burned to death. You know, it was one of those things where she wanted to get out of there, and it was them holding her back rather than the Hobbit, you know, not wanting to leave his cozy little hole in the Shire.
Yep, absolutely. All right, anything else we want to kind of touch on?
I think that's about it, Ben, unless you guys have anything else. All the high notes I had notes on it, we've covered.
Very good. All right. Now, so before we get down to our official rating of this thing, we have to ask ourselves a very important question. How does this relate back to our good friend Sylvester Stallone? Maybe Sean is off Skype. I don't know.
No, I'm here.
There you go. Okay.
He just fell asleep, man. It's been a long weekend.
No. I had to take care of something. It's okay now.
Okay, good. Stallone connection. Oh, wait. We need to figure out how this connects to Stallone.
Well, thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. Let's talk more about Ewan Bremner. He plays the Scottish sharpshooter who can't shoot straight in Wonder Woman, and his name's Charlie. But he's probably best known as Spud from the movie Trainspotting, Trainspotting 2, and Trainspotting the video game. If you've never played Trainspotting the video game, it's a lot like Burger Time, except it's heroin. The Scottish fellow who was born without a chin has worked on way more movies than I thought. He's in Pearl Harbor, which I didn't see, Alien vs. Predator, which I didn't see, and the romantic comedy Fool's Gold, which I said I didn't want to see, was forced to see, didn't like it, and then got yelled at for not liking because I don't find Kate Hudson charming. Back to the matter at hand, in 1995, Ewan Bremner played the character Junior Angel in the third rail of all comic book-based superhero movies, Judge Dredd. And Sylvester Stallone played Judge Dredd, which makes Ewan Bremner this week's Stallone connection. And even though I haven't read much in the way of Judge Dredd comic books, I'm pretty sure Judge Dredd never used tanning spray. And I'm guessing he probably never made out with anyone who even looked remotely like Diane Lane. Ewan Bremner is mostly a theater actor who sometimes works in movies, and even if the project he's working on is hot garbage that gets flash frozen and then unthawed to maintain its putrid nature, at least Ewan Bremner is going to be good in it. So when he's in something that's terrific like Wonder Woman, he's a welcome addition to an already good movie. I would like to see him in something more high profile, though. Maybe a Harry Potter movie, maybe a remake of Braveheart with Ewan Bremner in the title role. Whatever the case, give this guy more to do because he's good in everything. And there you have it, HMPers, this week's Stallone connection. Now, Penelope and Philippus, let's review Wonder Woman so we can wait around until July 7th and review Spider-Man Homecoming.
Absolutely. All right, here on Hero Movie Podcast, we have our own patented Robin rating system. If you'd like to see how that kind of breaks down, head on down to Facebook.com/Hero Movie Podcast, and it's right there at the top of the screen. And while you're there, why don't you throw us a like as well? Bruce, where does Wonder Woman fall in the HMP Robin rating system for you, sir?
Well, Warner Brothers and the DCEU really needed a win to lead into Justice League. I mean, they badly needed a W, and they got it. They got 2 W's. They got Wonder Woman. She is their best entry.
My gosh.
She's their best entry since 2008's The Dark Knight. I want to make it clear that I'm not saying this is good for a DC movie. I'm saying this is a good movie. I love it. 2017 has delivered in a big way with what I'm going to go ahead and say is its third Dick Grayson of the year. Dick Grayson, Wonder Woman.
Yes, sir. All right, Mr. Keenan.
Dick Grayson, everything Bruce just said, he's absolutely right. They needed a win badly, and here is the thing, though. Now that you're here, now that you have that movie that is very good that you so desperately needed, what do you do next? And I know that you already have Justice League in the can. That's okay. If it's not great, that's okay too. But from this point forward, because remember, Iron Man 2 is a terrible, terrible movie. So from after Justice League on, now is the time to course correct your world. And if you don't do that, if you maintain that Superman has to be a brooding, sucky baby, and that Batman is just comes like to the edge of killing someone all the time, but doesn't, you're doing it wrong. So please have Wonder Woman be your linchpin. Make the DCEU something great. Dick Grayson.
Very good. Wrapping up for me. So I'm actually just going Tim Drake. I really did enjoy this movie. I had a lot of fun with it. I feel like upon watching this a second time, my rating may go up. Because I don't know. I tried to curb expectations. I didn't really see, much trailers or anything else like that. But, the really positive word of it got out, just before the movie and everything. The ridiculously high Rotten Tomatoes score, the ridiculously high viewer score as well that pretty much matches, which is very rare for any movie, not much less a comic book movie. So I don't know what I was expecting. I don't know. But I liked it, but I didn't love it as much.
Was it the aspect ratio? That always gets you.
No, it wasn't this time. And honestly,
it wasn't shot in 4K, and that's a big problem.
Yeah, 3D was good for those of you that curious. I did see it in 3D. Looked good. Enjoyed that. It wasn't bad. I enjoyed it. I had a good time. She is fantastic. You can't take your eyes off of her. She just, every scene that she's in, she just commands the heck out of it. And her and Chris Pine are just a great pair together. We definitely need to get him into the future stuff somehow. He just, like I said, he brings a great presence in whatever movie that he's in. Just a little bit sketchy with the villains. I wish they would have been fleshed out just a little bit more for my taste, but that's a problem a lot of comic book movies have. So I can't say that it's like indicative to just them. But I'll see it a second time. But for as of right now, a good solid Tim Drake.
There you have it.
Alrighty, so that is it, everybody. Next week, I believe we have on the calendar here, we're going to be talking about, they just wrapped up Flash on the old CW there, and we'll be talking about that. And when we figure it out, we'll talk about our good friend Carlton Gordon, who's actually, like we said, jumped up to the big, over the executive producer, and is actually going to pick something that we watch. And we'll talk about that in not too awful long. In the meantime, Bruce, where can we find more of your work on the internet this week?
You just want to run straight to Amazon.com. You want to search for Chubby Wizard, Wrath of the Manticore, my 5-star rated book. Just a little quick snippet of a review from one of the folks who've read it. They said, if you love humor with adventure and want a brisk read on a rainy Saturday afternoon, look no further. Also, I just want to give a quick shout out to Sanctum Sanctorum podcast. They talk about superhero movies too, and they tweeted a picture of my paperback that they bought. So it's easy to buy your way to my heart.
Very nice.
Very cool.
Mr. Keenan.
Just find me on Twitter at Hero Movie Sean.
And, of course, everything that we can find at HeroMoviePodcast.com. Follow us on the tweets and the Instagrams and all that kind of jazz, usually just under Hero Movie Pod. Look it all up, man. It's all there. It's all fairly accessible and whatnot. And so, thanks, man. All right, that is it, everybody. Join us next week when we talk a little bit more about The Flash. For Sean Keenan, Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Portrais. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Eva.